created the world. Okay, he created the world. What does he do since he created the world? So he said he matchmakes. Mezaveg zivugim. God is connecting people with each other. She said, that's all God does? That's all God does? For that, all you need is a advanced AI matchmaking website. You don't need God for that. He said to her, are you joking? It's harder for God to connect, to matchmake two people than it is for him to split the sea. She says, what are you talking about? I have thousands of workers. I'm going to do a very advanced personality test, and I'll find out exactly who matches with who. And I will make 1,000 weddings in one night. And she did it. She lined up 1,000 men, 1,000 single women. She made a big wedding, and 1,000 people married, 1,000 women, 1,000 men got married based on an advanced system. The next morning,
how many were divorced?
The next morning, they come to her, all of the people, and they say, one has a broken head, one has a broken arm. Kill me, and I will not stay with this person. She calls back the rabbi, and she says, Rabbi, how did you do this? You're right. You were right. Your Torah is true. Your God is true. The Jewish people are the greatest. How did you know? And he said, King David told us. There's a pasuk. Elohim moshiv yachidim baita. Judgment, Elohim. God takes two people against their will. In other words, when people are in love, it's sort of like what happened when it says that when God created Eve, he put Adam to sleep and operated and took out Eve. When you fall in love, you're actually in anesthesia. You're knocked out. You have no clue what you're doing. And then you wake up. Whoa, what happened here? So if you believe in God and you know, oh, God put me to sleep in order to connect me with this person, and now I have a job to make it work, right? 80% of the people who got divorced, they did a survey. They asked 80% of the people who got divorced, after 5 years, do you think you made a mistake getting divorced, or are you happy you got divorced? 80% of the people said we made a mistake. We should have gone to therapy. We should have worked on it. The numbers today of divorce are through the roof, and they're unjustifiable. People just, you looked at me the wrong way. Let's go get divorced. That's it. It's a big, I know it's off topic, but it's an important topic. But the pasuk continues, and what does it say? Elohim moshiv yachidim baita. So God really, he's the one that put you two together. When you know God did it, then also it helps you to work on it. Because God put us together, we can do it. What does the pasuk keep saying? This is what Rabbi Yossi tells this wealthy woman. Elohim moshiv yachidim beita motzi asirim bekosharot. Why does God put these two people together? Motzi asirim, in order to take out these two people who are in prison. What? Who's in prison? Each and every one of us is in prison. We're in the prison of our selfishness. The Rav Kook says, "Harbe tzarich la'amol adam lirot sheyesh adam acher zulato." For a person to be able to acknowledge that there's another human being besides himself, it's like you have to cross the sea. You have to go through the hardest work of actually there's another person. Because we're so locked in the prison of our selfishness. And when you get married, God is giving you on a gold platter the keys to come out of prison. Motzi asirim bekosharot. What does this word mean? God takes out the prisoners bekosharot. So in Hebrew, like kashur, it could sound like that you're tied. you have bondages, you have ropes, you have what's it called, the metal handcuffs. Motzi asirim b'kosharot. So God gets you married in order to take out this to get you out of prison, to get you out of your bondages. But what does the Gemara say? What is this kosharot, this word? What does it mean? It's a combination of two words. Bechi veshirot. Kosharot is two words. Bechi, shirot. Coming out of that prison takes a lot of tears and also ultimately leads to incredible singing and praising. So why am I saying this? Because first of all, the whole bright that we're learning about was written by Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair was the rabbi who was famous for releasing prisoners. He used to go around the world, anywhere there was Jews in prison. He was to go and do whatever he could to get them out. So first of all, the class today should be to get the prisoners out of prison, and especially and to get ourselves out of our prison as we release ourselves out of our selfishness and our bad characters and our challenges. It helps all because we're all connected to Jewish people. As we're coming out of our selfishness prison, will help the other Jews that are in prison to come out as well. So this book is really a book about how to get out of prison, how to get out of slavery, and this is really what it's about. So, as we said, there's three parts to becoming a tzaddik. A tzaddik is someone who does what is expected of him. The next level is, this book has three goals. A tzaddik is someone who does what's expected of him. A chassid, the next three, there's nine characters in this book. The first three, everyone's got to reach. You become a tzaddik. The second three, the first one is zeirut, tzizut, nekiyut. The second three, you become a chassid. A chassid who does above what's expected. You don't have to. God says, do this, do this, do that. You do it. You did. You're great. Your father comes home and says, can you give me a glass of water? Sure. That's what he asked for. But you think, wait, he asked for water. He might be hungry also. Let me bring him some food. So whatever God says, do this, you want to go above the letter of the law. And then there's someone who has Ruach HaKodesh. The next three steps are for people that they have the highest spiritual level you can reach. One level down from prophecy is called Ruach HaKodesh. But we're focused on the first three, and we are at the third part of the three steps. The first, we said, there's Sur Mera V'aseh Tov. Stay away from bad. That's Zehirut. How do I know? There's so many things in my life that I know I should not be doing. How can I stop doing it? The Ramchal says, here, let me teach you. Breaks it down to 4 different ways of doing it, how to motivate yourself, how to do it step by step, and how to upkeep. Everything's there. And now I know how to stop the things that I don't want to be doing. Next step, Zrizut. How do I motivate myself to do positive? I have laziness. It's just, I'm looking for comfort. I'm looking for the easy way. I'm looking for the, how do I motivate myself to be a person that's on fire, that's excited? How do I ignite the fire in me, the passion in me, the excitement, the joy, the excitement? No problem. Zrizut. Now the third part of being a tzaddik is nekiyut. What is nekiyut? Nekiyut is a whole list of things that I had no idea were wrong. Why do I have no idea? Because either in society says that it's okay. Society, they think it's okay, like Lashon Hara. Most people think you're allowed to speak, you're allowed to say, if something's true, you're allowed to talk about something that's true. What's wrong with talking about somebody? We'll talk about that. We're getting there in a minute. What's the problem about talking about, I'm saying something that's true. I'm not lying. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not expanding on it. I'm talking about something that happened. That's true. It's real. No. Lashon Hara is very complex. And the question is, what is the value in what am I speaking? Why am I saying this? For what reason? What do I need to talk about this issue for? Does it have any positive? I'm talking about somebody because I want to help them. I'm talking about them because I care about them. I'm talking about somebody because I'm hurt and I need to share it. What's the purpose for you? Like everything you speak must have a purpose. Why are you speaking? Oh, just because it's interesting, just because it's exciting, just because it's distracting, it's entertainment. What are you talking about? So there's a whole list of things. That's what we're talking about. This whole chapter is a list of things that for many reasons we don't know that they're not allowed. Like you said, Zeirut is, I know the things I don't want to do. I want to keep Shabbos. I'm not keeping Shabbos. I want to keep Shabbos. How do I do it? Okay, we'll help you. But now I'm already talking about things that are much harder. I need to make a living. If I don't have a living, I won't have food, I'll die. Okay, great. So now I can make a living at any expense. Does it make a difference if I round corners, if I take advantage of people? No. It's an important thing to make a living, but not at all expenses. You need to be aware that it could drag you off to the wrong areas. I need to get married and have children. That's a very powerful passion. It could go off to the wrong areas. So we have to, the things that your life are dependent on, things that are very powerful. You need to be on guard that it might drag you to places that you don't want to be, and you need to be aware of it. So this whole chapter, the 11th chapter, is a list of things that are not, either society says it's okay, things that you're, like we said, could drag you to the wrong direction, and you need to be on guard. So now we're talking Binyan Netinat Eitzah. Oh, this is another one. People don't know. When somebody comes to you for advice, this is a major moment of a test, whether you're giving the right advice. I remember once I was at the hotel and somebody said to me, quick, there's a big rabbi here, the grandson of Baal Shem Tov, who knows, let's go get a bracha. We run. Rabbi, give us a bracha. And he says, people make a mistake. You don't go to a big rabbi for a bracha. You go to the rabbi for advice. Go to your friends for brachas and come to the rabbi for advice. Like, come ask a question, ask a halacha, ask something. Don't just come for a bracha. Like what's that about? You want something, you have a question. That's what, a rabbi has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. And this is a big thing. And as you get older and as you have experience, you're having people come to you. And especially in the field you're in, whatever field you're in, you get knowledge. So people come to you for advice. Shaninu b'toatkanim lifnei iver lo titen michshol. The Torah says, before a blind person, don't put a stumbling block. What is a blind person? Suma badavar. It doesn't mean blind. Of course, it obviously means also a blind person. Don't put a stone. Like we said, there's tons of these like jokes that you look on the YouTube, endless amount of making fun of people, putting stumbling block before a blind person. It's so funny to see how people get hurt and they don't know and they don't see that they're going to fall into a pit and who knows what. Very funny. But stumbling block means someone who is blind. I don't know anything about cars, and I'm telling you, buy this car. So I'm tricking you, and nobody knows. This is something that, like, who's going to know whether you gave the right advice, what your intentions were? Only you know. Only God knows. It's evil, putting a stumbling block. And the same thing here, Amar, right? So we said here, don't give someone advice that's the wrong advice, that's not good for him. And it's not easy. He comes to you, says, "Oh, I have you're a business consultant." Someone comes to you and says, "Look, I have this opportunity to buy this field." No, don't buy the field. Go buy a donkey, buy this car, whatever. You'll be able to invest in it and make much more. And then he does that, and you go and buy the field. He just gave you information about this opportunity, and you tell him, no, don't take it, and you go and you buy it. Nobody knows anything, right? He doesn't know you went and did that. Nobody knows. This is what's called cleanliness, right? Unbelievable. You tricked him. He came to you for advice. It's like it's cruelty. If somebody comes to you and says, right, someone comes to you and says, I want to buy this house, and you happen to already be wanting to buy it. So you could say to him, honestly, like, listen, I can't give you advice on this issue. I have something to do with the deal. I can't give you advice. That's okay, right? I was planning to buy it. Or you could say to him, I'm sorry, I can't, personal reasons, I can't give you any information about it. I can't talk to you about it, right? So again, it's very serious. But if someone comes to you and says like, oh, where do I buy? If someone like is going to buy unkosher meat and says, where do I buy this? Where do I get to that store? You could say, I don't know, right?
What Messilat Nefesh Yorav, as I'm telling you, is the best in town.
I love you, Rabbi.
I love you.
Or again, or if somebody is gonna, it's very important to know if somebody when it comes to matchmaking, someone says, what do you think of that guy? For me. And you know that he's a criminal, you know all these bad things about him. You can't say no. It's called lo tamod adam ra'acha. That's a situation where it's like you're like watching someone be killed if you let them go and get married. And even if they didn't even ask you for advice, and you know you have to go and tell them. There was once a story like that. My rabbi said, I told my rabbi was someone who was getting married to someone who was really a terrible person. My rabbi said, you have to go and tell the girl.
It's not the Mishnah.
No, it's the opposite. It's a mitzvah. It says if you don't, it's called lo tamod al dam re'acha. This is the halachas of Chafetz Chaim, the fourth halacha. It's a big mitzvah. But who wants to go to, they're getting married. Who wants to go to the girl and go tell her all these bad things about this guy? And I was like, what am I going to do? My rabbi said, you have to do it. I said, I don't even have this girl's number. I'll get you the girl's number. What's the big deal? I was like, oh no. Then finally I found a way out of it. I said, but the rabbi who's married him, he knows everything about the story. Oh, you're off the hook. Scary. It's a tough one, right? So, or someone's going to a business deal with somebody, he's a thief, and he steals from people and runs on to the next deal. You have to tell people. It's so funny because once there was a story here, the Chafetz Chaim, he's the famous one who wrote the book on the laws, and they're standing next to the Chafetz Chaim. Where Tzvi Yehuda met with Chafetz Chaim, he said he used to talk a ton. You think, the Chafetz Chaim is a guy, Shmirat HaLashon, guarding your tongue, is probably a guy who never did say a word. He used to talk all the time. And there's a story here that there was guys talking, right? And they mentioned some rabbi, and the Chafetz Chaim knew that this rabbi was a crook. And he says, you're not allowed to learn by this rabbi. He's an apikoros. So he says to him, one of the people talking there, said, how dare you speak? One of the guys there says to the Chafetz Chaim, he didn't know it was the Chafetz Chaim, how dare you talk about a rabbi like this? Lashon hara. Chafetz Chaim takes out this book. I saw it in a book. He takes out the book, Chafetz Chaim. He takes out the book, opens it up, and he shows him, Mefarsemim et chanafim. You have to make it known, a person who's a crook, and he acts like he's great and everything else, but he's corrupt and right. You have to warn people, like a doctor. Don't go to this doctor if he's he who knows what he does, bad things. Where do we learn this from? We learn this from the halacha. It's called chizkat habatim. There's a halacha that if a person lives on a field of somebody else for 3 years and nobody says a word, it's his. Why? Because if someone walked into your field, right, then people had to tell you that someone took over your field. It's not lashon hara to tell somebody, oh, by the way, someone just what's it called? Someone trespassed, or what's it called? There's another word.
The squash.
Squatted.
Squatted.
Somebody squatted into your property, right? People are supposed to tell you that's not lashon hara. People don't know halacha, so they don't say anything. But that's what it's based on. Is that you're not allowed to see somebody losing. Lo tamod adar echa. You're not allowed to see someone being killed and you just stand back. Taking somebody's money is like taking their life. And also in Hebrew, it's called damim. In the Torah language, money is called damim, which is blood also. Right? Shema tomar, it's a yafan, but you may say, no, I'm giving him good advice. It's hard to prove, right? That did you really want to not sell him the property because you had good intentions? It's hard to prove. It's something that only your heart knows. That's why it says, God knows. Don't try to play innocent, and God knows everything. When it comes to something, you need to give that person the complete truth. Right? Someone comes to get advice from you, you give him the best advice that you can, and sometimes you give someone advice and it's wrong advice, but that's a mistake. You don't understand? Say I don't know. Right? A lot of people feel like, if someone asks me advice on something, so if I say it, I'm like, a smart person. If I say I don't know, it's what it says in the Mishnah. Lamed leshoncha lomar eni yodea. Learn, teach your tongue to say, I don't know. My rabbi says also, there's some places in the Torah, Rashi, Eini yodea ma melamdenu. Rashi says, I don't know what this is teaching us. You don't know, then don't say anything. Why are you writing, I don't know what this means? Rashi's trying to teach us. First of all, it's deep. And teach yourself to say, I don't know. I don't know what this means. In other words, I had this thought, I had that thought. Nothing really was able to make me understand it well enough. I don't know what this teaches us. Teach yourself to say, I don't know. The Torah went down to the depth of the level of liars and people who trick. The lav beshuftani askinan. We're not talking about fools. We're not talking, right? Sheyatzu etza shiratam forcem v'niglet. Obviously, we're not talking about giving advice that's known, right? You tell somebody, hey, listen, jumped off the window instead of walking down the stairs. Okay, great, right? Thanks for your advice. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking this is a big responsibility. People don't know. Nikiyut are things that you should know, but people don't know. This idea of advice is a very serious matter. When somebody asks you for advice, we're talking about, right? Right? And this is people every day by day after day. Right? It happens day by day that people take advantage. Somebody is distrust. Somebody's coming to you to ask you advice. They're opening up to you. They're giving you trust. And you're violating their trust. And that's in the good scenario. Or you're taking advantage to use it for your good. Because of money or whatever the reasons are. It happens day after day where people take advantage of this incredible gift of trust that people come to ask you for advice. And that's why it says in the Torah, godel onsham, arur mashge iver baderech. If you are giving someone advice they're blind, they know nothing about the subject they're asking you, and you are giving them advice, take a right, take a left, go do this, go do that, you're leading a blind astray because he's blind in this issue. He knows nothing about it. So it's not only a love, it's not only you're doing something wrong, it's also arur, it's also considered accursed. It's a very serious thing. So first of all, we see that advice it's an obligation. When someone comes to give you advice, first of all, it's an opportunity, it's an obligation It's a mitzvah to give advice to people. People don't know. A lot of people say, no, wait, I don't want to give advice to anybody. No, here's saying it's important. It's expected from every healthy person should give advice to people in the subject that you know. People come to ask you, you should,
So when should you say I don't know?
when you really don't, here, we said, number one, if you have a loss out of it. If it's something that you're involved in and they're asking you and you say, number two, if you really don't know. Number three, if you feel that you're not the right person, you can tell them go to this person. Someone knows better than you.
Something just happened last night. Last night I think it was, and also this morning, with two people saying they want shidduchim. So I said, don't ask me. Go to somebody that knows. Go to a rav, and if he doesn't know, he'll get you to somebody else that will be able to help you.
Yeah, but that's the problem. That's why it says people like to think they know things. So why are you giving to advice to something in a subject you don't know anything about?
Exactly. So I said,
It's pride. It's like I know everything, so I'll tell you. Like a lot of times people do. They tell you go left, go right, go there, and they have no idea why did they tell you because they said, oh, yeah, I don't know. They like you know how many times I got to places I was like, why did people send me here? Advice, right? It's obligation. So what should you do when someone comes to give you advice? Imagine that it's you. Give the advice that you would give yourself. It's an important thing to ask doctors. A lot of times doctors say, there's a situation. We're not sure what to do. You could do this. You could do that. So what do? You ask the doctor, what would you do if it was your child? Right? And that's you have to, when someone comes to give you advice, you have to put yourself aside and think only, what would I do myself here? I'm only looking for the good of the person who's coming to ask me for advice. No other close, karov or rachok. Right? Don't take advantage of the person who is asking. Someone asks you something and now you can okay, long term, I know if I tell them to do this, it's going to help me for this or for that. You have to be honest with yourself. And you have to be honest, this is a big, big obligation and a big opportunity. All right? So you're not allowed to trick people ever. But this is more serious because he's giving you trust. And that's very valuable. He's asking for your advice and you're taking advantage of his trust to fool him. If you see yes, oh no, if he does that, I'm going to lose out from it. Right? He wants to sell the field, but I was planning to buy it also, right? I was trying to sell it to someone else. He's asking me, or I was going to buy the same field, right? And I'm going to lose. If he could say, listen, look, for your good, you should definitely buy it, right? It's an opportunity. I'm also wanting to buy it. For your good, right? If you're asking me, it's going to hurt me. Because right?
You have an interest.
Right? Please don't do it, right? But if you're asking me, according to the truth, you should definitely grab this deal. I'm trying to get it also, and you might get it before me. He says, for example, my rabbi said, once a guy came to him, he had a worker, Rabbi Viner, he had a worker, and the guy said, someone said, is he a good worker? He's incredible. Right? I could have said, he's the worst, terrible worker. Don't take him as a worker because he's working for me. Right? It's like someone comes to ask your advice. How is this guy? So you could easily say he's a terrible worker and they won't take him, and then you left him. But that's not honest. So he said, look, the truth is he's an amazing worker. If you take him, we're gonna really it's gonna be a loss for us. Right? So in other words, don't lie with the truth. Give the advice. You could say, I'm going to lose if you take him. Maybe he's not paying him enough. Maybe you're not paying enough. That's too bad. But be honest. Vim love is if you say I can't, then just say I can't. I don't. Right? If I'm going to lose, or just don't say anything. Do not give him bad advice. There's only one time to give bad advice. And that is what King David says, imikesh titpatal. With a terrible person, be terrible. and that was the story of Hushi Arki. He was the advisor of King David. He went and became a spy for. He went to become a spy for Avshalom, and he gave Avshalom bad advice, and that's how Avshalom lost. So obviously, if you're dealing with evil, bad people, that's a mitzvah to give bad advice. And by the way, and his, Hushai, he did it, right? He had two intentionally. He went to be a spy for King David, and he had two. He had two advisors. One, Achitophel, was a genius and the greatest advisor in the world, and he had this guy Hushi. They're both geniuses. And Hushi and Achitophel told him, if you take the advice of Hushi, you're going to die. It's going to be the end of your kingdom. And he took his advice anyway because he trusted him. And Achitophel went and hung himself because he knew that was the end. And that was the end of...
Achitophel
was bad.
Supporting Absalom?
Yeah. He was King David's... They were both King David's right-hand men. They went to... and Hushi went undercover. Okay, next one. Harichilut v'lashon hara. Now we're going to the next thing is lashon hara. Okay, what is the difference between lashon hara? Lashon hara is just to speak bad, and rechilut is what just it's not something bad. It's just something that causes. It could cause an argument between people. Machloket. Right? Oh, I heard about you. You just bought a new car, right? Oh, what is he? I heard. Why does he tell you about? What does he care about? What I spend my money on? Oh, goes back to the second guy. He said, "What do you care about my money?" Ah, well, tell him. But why? Why? Like it's like in Hebrew, a rochel is a salesman. Selling to this guy, and you take merchandise from this guy, and you bring it to this guy, and you start a whole business dealing going. So lashon hara, we said, is speaking bad. Is speaking bad. Could be true, but it's bad. And rechilut is not bad. It's just starting like gossip. For what? Right? Slowly. This is how it works. הרכילות ולשון הרע כבר חומרו נודע וגדול ענפיו כי רבו מאוד. There's huge amounts of... Just that you should know, there's an incredible story that in one of the revolutionary concepts that the Rav Kook started in the yeshiva was that there was two things they changed. There's no mashgiach. Mashgiach was a guy that was there to like sit on your head and pressure you and give you musar and really like force you to grow. Rav Kook got rid of that. He said it's got to come from inside. It's got to come from you. And he got rid of the mashgiach. And the second thing was, he said, there's a learning schedule, but what's more important is learn whatever you want. Learn the place that you feel helps you grow, the subjects that you connect with. That overrides the having, everyone should learn the same thing. But he said every day between 1 and 1:15, the whole yeshiva must learn shmirat halashon. Must learn not speaking lashon hara. A few days go by. The sister of Rav Tzvi Yehuda, she used to help him, take care of him. She came to the student and says, "What do you do to my brother? Why is he so upset? He hasn't been eating barely." Said, "I don't know." So they went and asked around. They said, "Oh, he came and said that we have to learn from 1 to 1:15 lashon hara, and we didn't do it." They came back to ask the rabbi, "Is that the reason why you're so upset?" He said, "Yeah. It says in the halacha, the Gemara, that a Talmid Chacham, if a person is a real Talmid Chacham, when he talks, people hear him. Obviously, I'm not a Talmid Chacham. I said something's really important, and nobody took it seriously. I have to do tshuva. I have to really. There's something wrong with me. I asked for something. I said, this is not. How do you say? This is the must. 15 minutes a day learning these halachas." And my rabbi tells a story of Shlomo Aviner. The first day that he came here to Merkaz Harav, He sits at the table. It was right after Yom Kippur War. He sits at the table, and he sees there's two students sitting across from each other. One student says to the other one, "Listen, I have to tell you a story about this guy. You're not going to believe what he did." "Thank you. I'd rather not hear Lashon Hara," the student sitting here says. He says again, "No, you have to hear it. It's the funniest thing. It was the craziest thing. You're not going to believe what he did." And the student sitting here says quietly, "Please do not tell me Lashon Hara." And he goes on, and he says quietly, "You're not going to force me to hear Lashon Hara. I don't want to hear it." Who was the student sitting here? Rav Dov Begun. That was, my rabbi says, that was my first lesson at Merkaz Harav, was learning from Rav Dov Begun what it means to not hear Lashon Hara.
Gossip, it was...
Yeah. So, and this is what they say, Kvar Gazru Chachamim, Omer Chachamim, Mamar V'kulam Be'avak Lashon Hara. Right? That's it. In other words, so, and what is avak lashon hara? Avak, dust, is something that you don't really see. Is there dust here? Is there not? I don't know. Right? It's hard to see. So somebody says to you, "Well, what's about this guy? How's he doing?" "I'd rather not speak about it." Oh, there you go. Right? Or you're talking to people that don't like this person. You start saying, "Oh, how great he is." You know they're going to get angry and get upset. Like, it takes like a little extra thought.
Sounds really complicated.
It's very complicated.
I mean,
it's very complicated.
Does he develop it here?
No, I mean,
It's based on Chafetz Chaim.
Yeah, Chafetz Chaim is later. Chafetz Chaim is modern, but he wrote the book on it. But there was obviously halachas that were it's Lashon Hara. It says here Hechidam Lashon Hara. What is that? How does Lashon Hara? You ask somebody, "Where can I find a fire?" And they say to you, "Go to that house. They cook all the time." Now, what does that mean? You're saying they're just like they eat all day long. So you're saying something like you're right. Go to them. They eat all day long. Oh, there you go, Lashon Hara. It's very refined. That's a word in Nekiyut. People don't know and they don't think, "Oh, come on, wait, I have to think of every word that comes out of my mouth." Yes. What I have to actually think before. That's what it says in the book, in the Igeret Ramban. Igeret Ramban, the letter that the Ramban wrote to his son, it's like the speed dial for Messilat Yesharim. It's like the short version of the whole Messilat Yesharim. What does he say there? Chashov hadibur kodem shtatzienu mepicha. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. Just that advice alone. Wait, okay, I'm going to say something. Think a second. What's going to come out of it? Is it needed? Is it helpful? Is it going to, right? Is this the right thing to do? People who are ADD, like me, it's very hard. You're just like impulsive. You have to learn. Take a deep breath. Think before you speak. 1 second before you speak. Okay? Or שיספר טובתו לפני שונאיו, right? It sounds like simple things that are far from like רכילות. באמת מאבק לשון כל דבר, הרבה דרכים ליצר. And we said the bottom line is the Yetzer Hara has lots of ways to convince you that it's not Lashon Hara. Any words that you say that something out of it might come out negative, that's already takes you one step ahead. Think not only what am I saying, but what could come out of what I'm saying. That's already a higher level, right? And that is okay. So we said Lashon Hara is cleanliness. What does that mean? It's cleanliness. It's things that are very serious, and people don't think that there's anything wrong with it. Lashon Hara, right? It doesn't have luck. Like say some mitzvahs have luck, other mitzvahs don't have luck. The mitzvah of Lashon Hara did not get luck, right? Even tzaddikim, even all these great people mess up, right? Especially when you're talking about politics. Oh, that's it. Politicians, you can say anything you want about them. And the same way you're not allowed to say Lashon Hara about an individual, you're not allowed to say about a whole community. Gama sin'a v'nekima. Now the next one. Sin'a v'nekima kashe me'od limalot mimeno lev hutal asher livnei adam. The next thing is hate and revenge. This is, right, the Torah says, Lo tisna et achiv levavcha. And people hate. I hate that guy. I hate this person. I hate him. Or even if they don't say it, they feel the hate. Why is that? Oh, again, I just want to go back to the Lashon Hara one more minute. There is a hidden um, a hidden competition between people. That, like, if I speak bad about somebody, it makes me feel better. I'm better. If he's so bad, then I'm good. Like the Rabbi Yisrael of Salan said, if you want to be better than somebody, there's two ways to do it. Dig him a hole or build yourself a mountain. What's easier? Dig a hole. Building a mountain, you need rocks, you need bricks, you need to build. It takes time, it takes effort. Focus on growing yourself, being a better person. But to make someone say, oh, if someone is worth nothing, if you make them be worthless, then you're great, right? Then if they're worthless, then not, right now I'm great. So it's a challenge that people have. It's like a hidden competition that people have, and that's part of the reason why people talk Lashon Hara. So that's a really an important thing. The next thing we're talking about is revenge. Hate and revenge. He says, "Kashe me'od sheyimalet mimeno lev hutal asher livnei adam." It's very hard to not hate and to not take revenge. Why? Because there's a feeling of, like, we have this, like, built-in feeling of justice. Somebody did something to me, intentional or not intentional. Now I'm down, they're up. If I get them back, now we're equal. I got them back, we're equal. And it's a wrong feeling of justice. That's why there's a lot of things we talk about money. I need to make a living. Not at all expenses. Not that you steal or destroy other people or make a living off someone else's loss. All these things are it's not at any price. And there's things that we get pulled off, and it comes from a place of we're sure that we're right and we feel it's the right thing. Here is another thing that we need to be on guard. We need to clean ourselves out from hate, from revenge. It's very important. Every night before you go to sleep, you're supposed to say, I forgive anyone who may have hurt me. I don't want anyone to be punished because of me. It's a beautiful prayer to say at night. And if you can't say it, talk to the person. Tell them, this is how I feel. This is what happened. I'm not happy about this. We're not talking not to have feelings, and we're not talking about, that's in the later chapters. How do you reach the level where you're not even hurt? How do you reach a level? Those are for people that are, right, on very high levels, that they're able to not even be hurt. But us normal human beings, we're hurt. Great, you're hurt, so tell the person. Stand up for yourself. We're not talking about to let someone, be a punching bag. But don't take revenge and don't hold a grudge. Right?
Question. What about so the gambling? This is like gaining someone else's loss.
Exactly. That's called, a person gambles is not even allowed to be a witness. It's like a serious.
If he's a professional gambler,
right? But I'm saying, that's like it's a serious thing because he's involved in destroying the world. It's a very serious. That's in the beginning of Zehut. The first part, gambling.
The gambler or the guy that
both. Anyone's involved in it.
But
and the way they do it nowadays, they have these apps. You're driving down the road, free restaurant, come have a free meal. So you think, oh, maybe the new restaurant you come, they have gambling places right next to it, and that's how they get you in for the meal, and they pull you in to come and start gambling. People destroy their lives.
But what about like simple game, like is that also important?
If it's like I tell my kids, gambling on a small amount. If it's you're playing dreidel or or like it's like 10 agurot. I always tell my kids, you want to make a bet, 10 agurot, like a small amount, or you want to trick somebody. So trick them. You tell them right away. Oh, I was joking. Like you can trick them immediately. Let them know that you made a joke. So it's not like you're dragging it out and you're doing like these things are fine, right? We're fine. But people hate, right? It says lot in the Torah, lot isnat achir bevavcha, and people hate. There's religious people who hate non-religious people. There's non-religious people who hate religious people. There's the left hates the right. Parents hate their kids. Kids hate their parents. It sounds strange, right? There's couples who hate each other. It feels like you can't control it. It happens. 80% of couples, they say, are emotionally divorced. They actually just hate each other. A lot of people, they wait till the kids get old enough, they get divorced, so that at least they didn't have to pay a lot of money, or like, unfortunately, this is unacceptable. Find the reason.
I have the instance about the person that murdered my son. I don't hate him.
You what?
I do not hate him.
That's a high
I
level.
want him to be in prison for the rest of his life, but I don't hate him. If he had been an Arab, then I would have hated him. He's a Jew. I can't hate the guy. I mean,
But you're a very high level person.
and it's like,
If you would
I don't
hate him,
understand how I could feel this way.
if you would hate him, it would be understood. But you're on a very high level.
And I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like when he comes to sentencing.
And look at Yosef. Yosef, no, there was no hate, there was nothing, and they tried to kill him, and like, it's you can't even understand it. But and that's why we're in the third level. This is hard things. These are things that are hard, and the Ramchal is not telling you, oh, it's easy. Everything he says here, kashe meod limaleh. This is very hard. I'm not coming and saying like this is a hard one. Getting out of hate and revenge takes incredible work, because he says you have to find the reasons. You have to, in other words, revenge is like escaping from dealing with the issue. Instead of dealing with the issue, I'm gonna find a way to get them back. I'm gonna hurt them, and they hold on to it, and it eats you up alive. And you feel like it's gonna be justice, and everything is it's because it's the right thing to do. And that's why you have the Ramchal that says, no. You understand? You feel like they put you down, like you were hurt.
Justice is something that we should.
Right. In other words, we're not talking about taking revenge from our enemies is a mitzvah. The soldiers, they have a mitzvah to take revenge. The soldiers, the IDF, they're doing that, and that's their mitzvah, and that's accepted. But as an individual, and the Ramchal is saying it's hate. It's hard. We have this taiva, this lust for revenge. And this hurts. And if a person really feels when I was put down, wow, right? It really hurts. And the person holds it in. And then revenge, then a kamalo metuka ki menuchahi levada. The only way that I could feel good is if I revenge them. And it's completely wrong. It's completely unacceptable. I took revenge, now I feel good. So Ramchal says you're not allowed to do it. Again, it's a big machloket. People don't understand the nuances, but if somebody knocks on your door, you knock on someone's door, say, can I borrow your I don't know, hair cutting machine? No. You're just hurt. I give you everything. I do everything. And they don't want to give that to you. So, now, you're not allowed to hold it in and say, when they come to ask me for something, I'll say, remember you didn't give me that thing? That you're not allowed to do. But you're allowed to, at this moment where they feel that they hit you, you're allowed to say, just you should know, don't come ask me for anything. That you're allowed to do. The halacha is, if someone hits you, you're allowed to hit them back. Someone curses you, you're allowed to curse them back. And this is, and only a person on a high, like midat chasidut, like the level of, like, turning the other cheek, is if you're on a very, very, very high level. Unfortunately, that was a big, when I was a kid, it came from the Christian moralities that come from turn the other cheek. And I was taught, you're never allowed to hit back. If somebody hits you and it's wrong, it creates a child who has no self worth, is not able to stand up for himself. It creates, if I would hit back, I get punished in my room. Not only I got hit, but I get punished if I, and someone would curse you. You had to sing a song. Sticks and stones will break my bones. Words will never hurt me. Words could hurt even more than being physically hit, because you get hit and in the heels. But here, someone hurts your personality. So this is, people don't know the halacha. This hard work. Ramchal is not telling us, he's not, fooling you and telling you it's easy. We're human beings. It hurts. We feel. So tell the person. So express it. So but do not hold it in. And that's it. So therefore, that's the basic idea. The Torah tells us, "Ve'ahavta de'reacha kamocha," what you mentioned. The Ramchal is saying that this is right. This is not easy to do. It's very hard, but it's possible, and it also gives you incredible feeling of osher, of happiness.
Again, I don't know.
If you're able to do it.
I don't know when he's brought to, for his sentencing, and I'm there. I don't know how I'm going to react, but I don't think I'll go crazy.
You're an incredible person. I have great admiration for you. So when the Torah says "V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha," it means like you, bli hefresh. The same way, if you cut your finger, you wouldn't your right hand cut your left hand. You wouldn't go and cut your right hand. Oh, you saw you did that? Let me show you. That's how it should be. And we're talking. It's hard. So we finished where I wanted to reach. Thank God. Next week we'll continue vows and lying and all kinds of other issues that were going on. But this was very important things. And halavai, we could take this and live it a little bit. But it's very hard things. We're not talking. This is not easy. I understand it's hard to apply. But it's what we have to do. Thank you guys.